What's up, guys? Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 ways to run a great slant route. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at 3 specific pre-snap coverage looks and how you guys would structure a slant route based off of that and based on a couple different situations. So first look we're going to be looking at here is a press coverage DB who's lined up inside shade. So the first way that you guys can run a great slant route is attacking the outside shoulder with something called a diamond release. Okay, so this is a pretty basic release, but we're going to talk about how this builds into other releases throughout this video. So with this DB's doing, he's attacking the outside shoulder hard, 3 steps to the outside, flip the DB's hips, then slip back underneath. So we'll play at full speed. So he does 3 hard steps to the outside, gets that DB to bite on the fade, and then he's able to create separation, right? So the thing is when we go here and when we attack the outside shoulder, I need to have some speed. Now his steps are a little bit choppy here, but because his hips are committed, because his shoulders are committed, and he has a little bit of a burst off of that line, that's what gets that DB to guess on that fade and open up the gate. When that DB can open up the gate simply because I'm attacking his outside shoulder, my eyes are to the outside, my body language is turned to the outside, that's what can get him to flip. And when I can get this DB in this position completely opened with the gate, I should have easy money on that slant route. So make sure when we're running a slant route versus an inside shade guy, we attack the outside shoulder and go. Now, as this video progresses, we're going to be talking about different types of slants. As a wide receiver, you can't be one-dimensional. You can't be that guy that gets that play from the coach, okay, I'm running a slant, and it's every single time I run a slant, it's the same thing. There are many different types of slants. You have RPO slants. You have maybe like some kind of play action delay slant. You have a third read slant where the quarterback's maybe going high to low and reading 2 separate routes before he gets to your specific route. So you have different timings and different tempos, and that's when you would want to use some of the more different, more patient releases, and that's what we're going to get into. But now, also, what would you do, fellas, if you had a DB who instead of press coverage like this was lined up inside shade, but maybe he was like 3 yards off, right where you're going to break? That's the next situation we're going to be talking about. So let's play this thing full speed. So again, great job with speed to the outside, attacking the outside shoulder, and then getting some space on this slant. So now, how would you guys run a slant? You got to break this thing off. It's a 3-step slant. It's a quick game slant. So that means that you need to come up with something quick off that line of scrimmage, but you got a DB who's lined up inside shade and right where you're going to be making that break, like 3 to 4 yards off. How would you guys go about this? Okay. So now, before we get into this, fellas, before we talk about what you can do for this release, I want to talk to you about a great opportunity we are offering this offseason. We are traveling out to 8 different cities across the United States for 2-day-long quarterback and wide receiver training camps. So the next stop on our camp tour is going to be Houston, Texas. We're going there this weekend. Then we're going to be out to Newark, New Jersey, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those 8 cities or would like to travel out to get some work in with me and my staff of coaches that all have former D1 and NFL experience, check out that very first link in the description below, fellas. These camps, I wouldn't even necessarily call them camps. It's more like a clinic because we're limiting spots. It's not going to be one of those camps where our goal is to get as many kids as possible out there. The goal is to get 10 to 12 guys per position group and actually be able to coach you guys for 2 whole days, 4 hours each day. So it's going to be a lot of detailed coaching, a lot of detailed work, and you guys are going to be honestly dead tired after this camp because you're going to be getting a ton of reps, a ton of coaching, and we're out there for 4 hours. So you're definitely going to be getting your money's worth. So again, fellas, if you're interested in one of coming out to one of our 8 off-season camps, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this video. So now, how would we run this slant route against this type of coverage, right? So quick game slant. If I have to run a quick game slant, I can't take forever, right? So the easy answer on this is, okay, he's lined up inside shade. I'd want to attack his leverage. Then I want to work to the outside, do the diamond release, get him to bite, and then run the slant under. But the problem with that is that it takes too long. Now, if you got a quarterback who's getting pressure, who's getting blitzed, it's cover 0, whatever it is, you cannot take forever because that quarterback will be sacked and he is not ready to make that throw. Now, maybe if he was a little bit closer, like maybe like 2 yards closer, you could attack his leverage and then work outside, get him to bite, and then you slip back under on the slant. But in this case, you'd want to attack him and give him a hard move to the outside without having to go diamond release. You would still want to sell the fade. So it's watch thing full speed. So he attacks him, release to the outside, gets him off that platform, and then is able to create space, right? So when we have a DB who's lined up on the goal line like this, we know that he's probably not going to backpedal, because if he just backpedals, he's just giving me the inside release, and that's easy money for the quarterback. So he's probably going to sit there. So when we go square him up, we keep that distance from him, right? And we want to sell what? We want to sell goal line fade, but we have to do it quicker than what I would do as if I was running a diamond release, right? A lot of guys will do exactly this, attack the DB in this case, and then they'll go left, right, left, and they'll take 3 steps on the 45. We cannot do that when it's a quick game slant. We cannot do that because it takes too long. We have to understand the situations with my quarterback and understand what his reads are. And this slant is a quick game slant. He is catching the ball, planting his back foot, and throwing. So I need to come up with something quicker. So this like kind of crossover move that this wide receiver uses right here can sell the fade within 1 step. You see how he's throwing his hip into the break. He's stepping outside the frame. He's throwing his upper half. This actually, everything about that looks like he's just going to go tack his leverage and go run a fade, because that's how you guys would do this. It's the same kind of concept as a diamond release, except you're accomplishing this in 1 step because he's 3 to 4 yards off. And I can't waste too much time to screw up the timing and the tempo of the play with my quarterback. So this is a perfect example of what you would do against this type of coverage when you have a quick game slant. And then a lot of guys will just run the route. They'll just take 3 steps up and try to break in front of this DB. This DB's inside shade for a reason, fellas. He's expecting the inside breaking route. So he's expecting you to just run to the inside right now, and he's going to get right in front of you, get hands on you, and be able to make a play on this slant. So we have to make this thing look like a fade. We have to get him to be over anxious and try to play the fade because he does not have any help out here. So if we could get him off the platform, that'll help me get separation back to the inside. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job attacking, throwing the hip to the outside, and getting that DB to jump off that platform. Okay, so now let's talk about a longer developing slant, okay, and how this can build. So those first 2 examples we just went over were quick game slants, right? Where the quarterback's just catching the snap and just throwing, right? So now, what are the other types of slants that I have to run? So there's a lot of, especially in today's offensive scheme world, there's a lot of RPO slants that you guys can run, and then a lot of third read slants. So an RPO would be where like the quarterback's to the inside with the running back, they're doing some kind of zone read fake, and they're trying to read, like, let's say here's the receiver right here, and there's a linebacker here. So they're trying to see if that linebacker crashes on the run fake, quarterback pulls the ball, and then we hit the slant replacing where that linebacker was, right? So that's the entire play concept. Now, if I'm a receiver, I don't want to get to this window right here too fast. I don't want to just come off the line, go 3 hard steps real quick to the outside, DB jumps, and then I'm there and I'm at the window, but the quarterback's not ready for me because he's still trying to get a read on that linebacker and ride the fake because it's a play action. Right? So we have to take our time. We have to get to the window at the timing of the play. So that's when you'd want to use something like a slide release. And that is the third way, doing a more patient release. That is the third way to run a great slant route, is using a slide release and being patient to set up the timing of the play. So let's watch the thing full speed. So he slides to the outside, hits him with the crossover, and then is able to make that play on the slant over the middle. So think about that, right? So he is sliding. It's the same thing as a diamond release, fellas. But again, it's for the tempo and the timing of the play. So he slides off as being patient with his feet, getting that DB to sit to the inside, and then he sells with the crossover. Very similar to the last release that we just looked at versus that inside shade guy where he was off. Instead of attacking the leverage and giving a move, he's giving the move and sliding to the outside, getting this DB to sit on a fade, right? And we're going to be talking about that, how that builds here in a second. So slide release is one of the best ways to run that slant route when you have a longer developing play. Why wouldn't you use this in quick game? Because if it's a quick game slant and you're seeing man coverage, usually the quarterback's probably getting pressure, number one, but also, again, that quarterback's expecting me to be there right now. He's literally catching the ball and taking 1 to 2 steps and throwing. So if I'm taking my time out here, I'm sliding, and I give this move, and then I go run to the inside, and that quarterback's sitting, waiting, he's going to move on. He's going to go to another wide receiver. And not to mention, usually, you'll have other routes paired on this play. You can't be sliding to the outside when the outside receiver is also running a slant, because then you're going to get in the way of him, and that's going to screw up the spacing of the route. We have to just go sometimes, and then there are times like this where I could be a little bit more patient with that release. Let's watch it again full speed. So now, how can you pair this slide release? How can you pair this with something else? Like, what can you do if maybe you're a third read on a play? So We talked about that as well. So like, let's say, for example, instead of an RPO, another situation you could use a longer developing release would be like, so like, let's say there's an outside receiver here and then a number 3 receiver here. And let's say they're maybe doing like a corner, maybe he's running a post, and then maybe we have a slant coming back underneath. Or for example, like it could be different too as well. Like it could be like the slot, like let's say this receiver's kicked out wide, he's running a slant, then he's got the post, this guy's got the corner, and then the quarterback's going from 1 to 2 back to us 3, right? So what can we do on this? We got to make sure that we're patient. Now, another release that you guys can use that's a little bit longer developing, I just want to include this, is that same slide release, but you attach a diamond release to it like we just talked about. So let's watch it full speed. So Thayer Thomas right here, he does a slide, 1, 2, 3. And he does that diamond release off the line of scrimmage, or that diamond release attached to the slide release, because that makes that DB thing fade. So it's just another way to be unpredictable with your routes and to run that slant route. There's a million different ways to run the slant, fellas. You just have to know the right situation. So normally when you see that slide release, that's like the same release we just looked at from that Ole Miss wide receiver. DBs are taught to sit inside. Okay, when I see him slide, I'm just going to sit there because I'm expecting a slant. But maybe a couple times, what do you hit him with? You hit him with that same slide release. He wants to sit to the inside. Okay, I'm going to go dust him on a fade. And now when we get into his head and he's trying to guess and he's trying to play, he's trying to anticipate what I'm doing, you could use a release like this. It's all technical, fellas, where you slide to the outside and then you take off on 3 hard steps, selling like you're just doing that slide and go release. But those 3 hard steps get that DB to open up the gate, get him to commit to the fade, and then bam, I'm back underneath and I'm at the throwing window when the quarterback needs me to be at the throwing window, because he's either going from 1 to 2 back down to me 3, or it's a longer developing route and that quarterback's in 5-step pass concept or 3-step drop back concept. So I just can't get to the window too fast because that will screw up the read of the play. That's a great job pairing those releases together. So let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job sliding, selling fade with 3 steps, swatting the DB by, and then making that play over the middle. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this type of video helped you guys out. I hope it gave you some new ideas of just how to structure your slant routes, what you can do against each specific coverage to just be successful against man, off man, zone, whatever it might be in different situations. And again, fellas, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to leave that in the comment section below. And again, if you guys would like to travel out to one of our 8 off-season camps this year, we would absolutely love to have you out. Check out that very first link in the description below. See you guys next time.